The modern corporate landscape is completely defined by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We call this a VUCA environment. The Standard Management Playbook offers a straightforward solution to this complexity: assemble diverse expertise. The assumption is that bringing different minds together naturally yields high performance and innovation. This modern organizational matrix reveals a contradiction. Diverse groups often underperform. Friction causes gridlock. As connections sever and nodes flash red, the system breaks down. When inputs create inconsistent outcomes like this, researchers look for a missing moderator, a hidden variable dictating the final output. Psychological safety is the name for this missing moderator. It is a measurable operational metric that dictates a team's ability to process information and manage risk. Without this variable, the natural friction of a diverse team creates gridlock. With it, the exact same friction drives the communication necessary for innovation. We can measure the baseline failure of an organization by looking at its silence. Across industries, employees routinely observe flaws, formulate questions, and generate ideas, yet choose to say nothing. Looking at this confidence spectrum, we see the mechanics of communication break down. A worker with an idea they are 95% sure is correct will easily transmit that signal across the organization. But drop that confidence to 40%, and the signal hits a solid wall. Early-stage creative problem-solving and vital warnings about flawed processes live almost entirely in this 40% zone. The barrier blocking these crucial signals is built on exact, measurable risks. Employees remain silent primarily because they fear being labeled as incompetent by their peers, or because they worry about damaging delicate reporting relationships with their managers. People are not just hiding embarrassing personal mistakes. They actively withhold objective suggestions for process improvement to avoid rocking the boat. When a culture allows interpersonal fear to dictate the flow of communication, leadership is effectively blinded to the actual operational reality of their own company. Inside an organization, this epidemic of silence takes a mechanical form. It manifests as a workaround. In this workflow pipeline, a workaround functions as a localized shortcut. An employee encounters a blockage, bypasses the system error, and completes their immediate task. The danger lies in its short-term success. Because the immediate job gets done, the workaround silences the alarm. The original systemic flaw calcifies and remains embedded in the workflow. Over time, these calcified errors compound. They create subtle new risks in other departments and prevent long-term process improvement. Diagnosing and solving the root cause of the blockage requires communicating across departmental silos. When a culture lacks safety, that action carries too much interpersonal risk to attempt. Workarounds serve as the physical evidence of a psychologically unsafe culture. They prove that a system prioritizes quiet, immediate inefficiency over vocal, long-term correction. To actually dismantle these workarounds and fix broken systems, organizations rely on specific learning behaviors. Researchers divide learning into two distinct categories. Learn what consists of independent, low-risk activities, reading industry literature or watching a tutorial on new software. As we see on the right side of the split screen, learn how is entirely different. It is team-based and highly interdependent. It requires brainstorming, offering untested suggestions, and openly admitting errors. Decades of data reveal a stark divide. Psychological safety has zero statistical impact on the isolated learn what behaviors on the left. Its sole mechanical utility is acting as the catalyst for the right side of the screen. It is the specific mechanism that allows employees to overcome the interpersonal risk required for learn how behaviors. Without psychological safety, an organization can acquire static knowledge through individual study, but it lacks the collaborative mechanism required to solve complex, dynamic problems. This fluid simulation illustrates the moderator equation in practice. Inputs like conflict must pass through a specific filter to produce a highly pressurized singular flow. Modern teams face intense baseline friction. Geographic dispersion and remote work naturally increase communication anxiety and the potential for interpersonal conflict. When the moderator variable is missing, when psychological safety is low, this natural conflict devolves into stubbornness, embarrassment, and eventual team breakdown. Introduce high psychological safety, and the equation inverts. The exact same conflict is moderated into critical discussion. Ideas are heavily scrutinized, but devoid of personal attack. Intellectual conflict is inherently neutral. The presence of the moderator variable dictates whether the resulting friction is destructive or generative. We apply this exact mechanical lens to demographic diversity, the primary strategy companies use to leverage varied expertise. This system dynamics equation maps the standard strategy of routing diversity and conflict into a team. Simply grouping individuals with different backgrounds frequently underestimates the difficulty of integrating competing perspectives. Psychological safety is the valve in the center. When it opens, the output shifts from friction to innovation. It dictates whether a diverse team can actually use its varied perspectives. This dynamic is especially crucial for minority demographics. Data shows a highly pronounced link between psychological safety, the feeling of being valued at work, and overall engagement. The ultimate output of this engagement is discretionary effort. It is the willingness of an employee to pour extra, unmandated passion into their daily tasks. Demographic diversity without psychological safety is a stranded asset. Safety serves as the required extraction mechanism to gain value from a diverse workforce. We see the ultimate field validation of this theoretical data in Google's Project Aristotle. Google's researchers mapped the traits we assume create high performance, as shown here: clear goals, dependable colleagues, meaningful work, and measurable impact. But their definitive conclusion placed psychological safety as the bedrock. It was the foundational differentiator that made the other 4 pillars possible. Routine, predictable, modular work is rapidly declining in the modern economy. In a volatile and ambiguous environment, an organization's true competitive advantage lies in human judgment, the ability to manage uncertainty, and high-level coordination.